Let's start it up. Okay, so welcome to Decorating Pages podcast. This is about the Emmy-nominated show for Variety. I am joined by Steve Morden. Hello, Steve. Hi. Say hi so people know your voice.
Hi.
Hi. James Yarnell.
Hello.
And John Sperano. Hello. And we are here to talk about Dick Van Dyke's 98 Years of Magic, which, how'd you get this gig? Because it sounds magical.
I guess I can take this one. So I worked with a company called White Label with Steph and Chris Wagner on a show, Rihanna fashion show, Savage X Fenty. We actually also nominated for it a couple years ago. But they gave me a ring. They said they were doing this special to honor Dick Van Dyke. And they were also doing it with Craig Plestis over at Smart Dog, who I do Masked Singer with. And it sounded just like a really, really great project. Fortunately, the timeline was super, super quick, and I was slammed on a bunch of other stuff. And I told them, would you be comfortable if I co-designed this with pretty much my mentor and best friend, James Yarnell, here on the call. And I just love working with James, and I know that he's done a lot of set recreations before. His work on Dancing with the Stars, but I think some reunion shows as well, I believe. And then James and I work with John all the time across multiple shows and thought that he would be a great fit for the job. And honestly, it's just one of those shows that just like kind of came together. It was just such a great experience with great people. And it's just like one of the rare ones that's just like you come away feeling just ecstatic about everything you just did, you know.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How much prep time did you guys have? From concept to shoot date?
I think wasn't it like I think the taping was the first week of December, and I don't think we were really brought on till some like the first or second week in October.
Oh wow!
So it was quite fast, and like Steve mentioned, he got in touch with me, and we said we were both like straight away, yes, we wanted to do it, and then once we realised kind of we did a bit of work to work out what it was, because the original version of it was slightly different to what it ended up being. It was originally going to be in a theatre, and Steve and I started looking at different locations with some producers to work out where it was going to go, and we felt from the very beginning that it shouldn't be. We thought that it was going to be a difficult thing for everything they'd asked for, which was, they'd not said been too specific, but what they'd asked for very, very early on, they'd said they wanted the Dick Van Dyke set, the Dick Van Dyke show set.
Yeah.
And they said that should be in there somewhere, but also they wanted a performance space, and they wanted to be able to kind of play packages in an LED screen. They wanted a dance area. And so going into a theatre, you've got the stage that, well, what goes on the stage? Is it the set, or is it the performance space? And it would be hard to do both and it not look odd. So from early on, we kept pushing for a stage. And then when they hired, Ashley Edens came on as executive producer as well, and she was of that belief as well. And I think that as we got a little further into it, I mean, we lost the first week or two because we just were looking at theatres, and then eventually they said we would we're going to put it into a stage, which gave us free reign to, we weren't restricted by architecture or by, the building itself. And that's when we came up with what we came up with. And but at that point, we really only had about a month. We had basically the month of November to put it together. And we shot I think it was the 7th of December or something like that. So it was a real fast turnaround, just in all senses.
John, you came on December 2nd or something? Like they give you a week.
Yeah, no, I came on, I think, right after Thanksgiving. So, I mean, it was like, I think I had 2 weeks on this show.
That's insane.
But I did work sort of freelance for about 2 weeks before.
Freelance.
Let's just say it was freelance. There was, it's like when you're recreating a set like that, you go around to the prop houses first and you go, okay, am I going to get lucky? Is this stuff going to already just be hanging around? And there was a couple things that were remodeled for another Dick Van Dyke thing a while ago. So I got lucky on like 2 tables and like the curtains. Those were kind of accurate. That was it. The rest of it had to be done by scratch. So, and if you're doing a show about Dick Van Dyke and Rob Reiner's gonna walk onto your set and, you know, tell you the story, if that furniture isn't exactly right, all you're going to hear is how that freaking ottoman was not exactly right. So I did all my research while I was in Atlanta because I was already doing a show in Atlanta when they called me about this, and I did all the research, and then I just went down I have a really good furniture builder in Los Angeles, and we built almost every piece of furniture from scratch.
When I was looking into the Dick Van Dyke Show, which obviously is in black and white. So, did you have any color photos to go off of? So, how did you choose that color, those colors?
But what I did, and I think James did this too. The show is in black and white. The production stills are in black and white, but there were magazine articles and publicity shots of Mary Tyler Moore on the set, so you could look behind her and you could see the
Yeah.
colors of everything. And
Oh,
so I
that's
tried to match them from there. And I know James and Steve did sort of the same thing.
yeah, that's
When we started this, it was again going back to this idea about it being in theatre. There was going right back. We were saying if we where do we this thing of where do we put the set, and if we couldn't have both in it, was almost do we even how much of the set do we do? Is it just the front door? The front door and the ottoman and the bit and the bit everyone recognises, but it was felt ashamed to only do part of it. And it was only when we kind of came up with the way, which was we can talk about, but we came up with the way to do the entire set. That was, I mean, we at that point, we had to bring John on because, like John mentioned, we worked on, like Steve mentioned, John and I worked together on Dancing with the Stars with Steve. They worked together on Idol and Masked Singer, and we've just the three of us worked together on a lot of stuff. And this was the perfect show for the three of us to get on. And at that point, we had to hand that over to John. We've got the Dick Van Dyke Show set, but we'd also got everything else to kind of build around it. But we just passed that on to John to kind of deal with these recreations of things. And we were going back and forth between, there was in 2004, they did a reunion of the Dick Van Dyke Show in color, and they rebuilt the set, but we didn't like, the set was close and it looked like it, but there was certain things which we didn't think historically matched the original. And the same with a lot of the furniture, because it was also supposedly 30 or 40 years later in the story. So the furniture in the reunion was similar, but wasn't exact. And so, like John said, we were going through all these publicity photographs, but with that, it could be misleading because some of them you'd see them and the chair behind is green, and then you see another one, the chair behind is yellow. And so you wondered whether it was a black and white photo that had been colorized.
Oh,
Was it colorized by someone who was just guessing, or was it colorized by someone who knew what color they were? So we had to kind of take it as only so far, and then it came a time that we had to, certainly when we got to the painting of the walls, we had to guess what we thought it would be, knowing we were probably going to get it wrong. But we had to go for as close as we thought it could be, so that when the show started, it was in black and white, and tonally it had got to look the same as the original. But also, we've got to remember this is a variety show; it's a variety special, and we felt it needed to have a little color for our show, not just we're trying to recreate the sitcom. We also felt it couldn't look drab. This was, this the show was about a young couple living in a very kind of nice house in the 60s. It was mid-century. It was they had some style, so we felt that the set should have some style to it. It shouldn't be drab and just beiges and grays. So there were certain areas in the set that we put a pop of color in that might have been stronger than the original was. There was a wall that had an orange to it that we changed on set, that we looked at it, and when we got in, we kind of felt it just didn't have enough kind of lift to it. So we changed the color of that, and we actually changed that to match, to tie in with one of the cushions that John had got, which so it was a color that maybe it wasn't the true color, but it was close, and it just worked for our show. And so there were little elements of color in the set that we put in, a green, a blue, an orange, which we hoped were as close to the original as possible. But we felt ultimately we need to make our show look Right. It's a variety show. And we didn't want a kind of grey sitcom
It's
set in the middle
fun.
of a colourful
Yeah.
world. Yeah, exactly.
Did you know how many dance numbers they needed to do and how many songs they were gonna do? Like, did they tell you guys that, Steve and Jane? Did they tell you that, or they were just like, hey, and by the way, we're gonna do medicine too, and we're gonna, because I think it was brilliant too, because you have this, screen in the back that gives them the okay, we could do this now, and we have a screen, we can incorporate a lot of visuals into this. I mean, I think that gave them a lot of opportunities for their, dancing, the backgrounds and everything. Did they tell you?
I think we kind of were finding out new items daily. So we knew that they needed a performance space, and we also knew that they needed a kind of just a space they needed the Dick and Dyke show set and a space to speak out of it. And that's just really representative of his career. So I think, James, I think you were the spearhead on, like, we need to recreate the full living room area, right? And then we're like, how can we incorporate this into a space that can also accommodate dance numbers and teens and all that stuff? So we decided, like, why don't we start the show off inside of our little set, make it seem like we're just in the studio as if a member of the audience when Dyke was taping. And then we called up All Access, who's a decking vendor that we work with all the time, and basically begged them to give us mobilators so we could automate the set, that it splits in half.
Yeah, I think that was genius. I mean, I think that gives it, you created so much more opportunity for them to be able to, open it up into different things, but you still had your set there, which I thought was so pretty.
And it helped us too because it provided a bookend to our performance space. When we went off stage, we still could, in our cross shots, we still had this hint of the old, Dick and Dyke amongst all these, big variety numbers. And yeah, we begged All Access to. We do a lot of business with All Access, and they gave us a very, very favorable deal to make it work.
A cheap effect.
Yeah, we were very thankful that it only opened and closed twice during the show.
Yeah, see, the good thing was that we opened it, and that was great, but then it closed back again, and we turned it into Christmas. And that was really effective because that was a whole nother look like no one expected. So we put it back together, and then we decorated, and I tried to make it like the way they did it back in the 70s, because this was sort of based on Van Dyke and Company, which was 1976, where they didn't, they didn't do it like you and I do, Kim, and really,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
They kind of just like set poinsettias around,
Right,
do a little like garland, it's just like they don't go full crazy. So I was like, so I looked at a few of those and I was like, okay, let's just do it the way they did it,
No,
and it looked nice,
Yeah.
It's just like you decorated your house.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the dance numbers, it's like, and I've known this forever. While you're doing something, you'll get a call every day from a choreographer's assistant going, "Oh, they're going to do this.
We need a chair, and it has to be safe, and they got to dance on this and the table, and yes,
All of it.
yes,
It's like, okay, we need chimney sweeps. They have to be orange on one side and black on the other. I'm like, okay, well, those have to be painted, so it's like, and they can't break. So that was the other thing. When you get I've had this chimney sweep thing forever because of Dancing with the Stars, because we do it a lot. And I always tell everyone, you have to change the whole thing out into a wood dowel, and it has to be screwed in the right way because they break.
You're
So
the
I do
chimney
that.
sweep guy, John. You're the guy.
So we have to do that for 20 of those, so it's like, and then kites, there's a whole thing on the kites, which was supposed to be much bigger, but then it kind of, I don't know what happened with that.
I like the kites. I was like, oh, look, I like that.
It was, I mean, our focus, Steve and I's focus was very much on the set itself, and then John's focus was the dressing for the Dick Van Dyke Show living room. But there was always this constant drip, and all of us have done Dance with the Stars, American Idol, Masked Singer, where we're used to these random kind of ads. We need some lampposts. We need 12 lampposts. We need this. We need, and so while that was ticking along, we were focusing on the main set. But then but a lot of it was all down to, I don't even know if you could say it was down to money. It was certainly down to time. That we were just running out of time, and the deadline was fast approaching. And so certain things the kites was one thing that there was, could we get custom kites made that did a certain thing, or considering we're taping tomorrow, we probably have to get what we can get, and that's what happened with the kites. And going back to what Steve was saying about the living room, what was nice about the split, and it was Steve's. I said there was a thing again about, if we have a screen in the center and the set over here, then what do we put on this side? So I said, why don't we split the set? But it was like, is that going to be weird to have the set in two halves and not connect? And Steve said, well, why don't we start with it connected and split it on camera? And it suddenly kind of fit. Suddenly we got that world. We had a starting point, and then we had, as Steve says, a bookend for each side. So when we open it up to this big, it's an LED screen. We built a custom floor. If you look, it has
the
detail.
flooring is great. I love the design on the floor.
The design on the floor is taken from the hood of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh,
there's the paneling along the front of the hood, and that we took that and put that in the floor. So we've got this themed floor with an LED screen, which, like you say, we can put anything into, and that can change the look and the feel of every song, going from Jolly Holiday to Chim Chim Cheree or whatever. But we still had this bookend that was the set, and so you could have Cedric the Entertainer walk out and stand in the set and announce, and then go straight into a musical number. But it was, so as we weren't really aware, we could guess what songs were coming up. They're going to do a Supercalifragilistic. They're going to do Jolly Holiday. We knew these were coming, but then as we went through it, they worked through the choreography themselves. We would get, what John would get, this list of, can we have this, and can we have a parasol, and can we have a chimney sweep brush at 20, and then obviously, of course, there was, if this is the set, there was always things, what do we do the other side? And one of the notes we got very early on was that we wanted the Dick Van Dyke Show set, but there was also talk of, should we get the car from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in? And then that leaves the third one. Third big thing is Mary Poppins. So we were saying, well, what do we do for that? And we came up with one of the good things about not being in a theatre was we can build our own audience. And at one point, well, at several points, there was going to be a couple of hundred, then there was only going to be 100, then there was going to be no audience, then it was back to maybe 100. And so we came up with this thing, and Steve and I were talking about, Poppins is huge for Dick Van Dyke, but it's Julie Andrews' film. And we were looking through the different songs and the different dance routines and the different sets. And, the Banks house is nothing to do with Dick. And then there's different things that, well, what is specifically his? What's his, feature kind of set and performance? And that was Step in Time.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, there's nothing more iconic. I mean, I guess there's nothing more iconic for Mary Poppins than the rooftops of London. And so we then said, well, why don't we make that the audience? We can do the skyline of the rooftops. We can build it within. And then if we have 100 or 200 audience, we can fit them in within it, and they can sit within the rooftops. And then that became the other half of the set. And ultimately, of course, which goes back to the performance numbers. Once they knew they were doing that, it was like, well, then that's where we have to do Step in Time.
Yeah, it's like a surround. It's like you gave them such an opportunity to surround the audience with performances. It was really great.
Yeah, it worked well because it gave us a 360, but it also was nice that, Step in Time should take place in there. I mean, they were going to do it on the stage with Jojo Siwa and a bunch of female dancers, but they were going to do it on the stage. And then it was suddenly the opportunity, well, why not do it in the audience? Dick and Arlene, his wife, was sitting right there, so that it could be surrounding them. And so it was nice that we could coordinate between creative and choreographers and set design to make the two work. And so then, of course, we then get notes from them to, can they dance on this rooftop? Can they climb on this chimney? Can we? So modifications were made to accommodate. But that's where we ended up with the audience of Mary Poppins, the set of Dick Van Dyke that splits. And then we did some tracking down and production help with this. So then we found a car that was shipped over from New York, and his
Oh,
gentleman
wow.
and his wife came over with their car that they built, which was a true road. It was road capable, chitty chitty bang bang, and it was some people who knew they'd worked with Dick before, so they knew Dick, and there was a concern on our side and production side of Dick's 98. That's the whole point, and we don't really know how's he going to feel about climbing into a car, and we didn't really know what to expect when Dick and Arlene got there, as to whether he'd just kind of walk in, sit down, and just sit there, or whether he'd want to get involved. And so we felt it was better that at least he knew the car, obviously, but he knew the people whose car it was, and so there was a lot of things that we had to coordinate around that. But it ended up as that we had the car within the rooftops across from the sitcom
And
set.
the great thing about having that as a playing space, that the cameras could go down right to where
Yeah.
Dick was sitting, and you had this great background, and you had the car. There was like any place you turned, and then you had the audience. So any place you turned around, there was a good angle to catch
Yeah.
Van Dyke and his wife at. And I think because we did that, and because the audience was so close, it's like a lot of when you do these, some of these tribute things, they bring the guy out and he's way up on the stage somewhere, and he sort of walks out and says, "Thank you very much for my AFI."
Yeah. He was in it.
Yeah,
He was
right. He was in it, and the audience was like, you don't get that close to the celebrity, It's just like they were right with him.
I gotta be honest. First of all, I thought that was his daughter. Secondly, I thought it was I thought it was a very intimate environment, and it really gave that sense, especially at the end, like this is a birthday party. We're here to celebrate this birthday party. And it didn't seem like this big, grand it seemed very like we're celebrating you right here, right now. And I think that lends so much to the design of how you had every angle available for something to celebrate. I thought it was really great.
Yes, I mean, it had that. Go ahead, Steve.
My favorite part of it too is if you watch the show and you see like Dick Van Dyke, he's singing along to every number.
Yeah.
He's like
Yeah.
recreating his career. Like he's in tears
Yeah.
by the end of the show. And it was just you'll see him, he says multiple times, I was like not expecting this at all. I was expecting like like John said, like, oh, here's, thank you so much for your career. But it was like a celebration of him that like, and he was just ecstatic about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And going back to the step in time rooftop scene, I mean, we don't, have the budget on this one of like the Oscars. Like we're not even at a fifth of that. Like we stretched every dollar we possibly could. And my favorite story would be, I don't know if I should include this or not, but my favorite story with the rooftop scene is like we were talking with the Television City scenic department, and they were like, we're out of hours, we got to paint this and this, and like we got to make a concession somewhere. And James and I are looking out at the floor of the studio, and we had to scenic the entire thing to look like the rooftops of London. And we're looking at it, and we're like, this is like 30 years of scenic that we couldn't buy just naturally as the studio floor that's been scraped up. So the rooftops of London, we just put little lines down to make it look like, what was it, sheet metal back then? Or
It looked like weathered lead paneling, and it was just old paint on the floor.
yeah, and we're like,
Right, too.
Scenic.
yeah,
Natural.
yeah.
Pretty scenic. That's awesome.
But yeah, see, but I think that whole, I mean, besides, the set had so many great, moments of just genius moves. One, splitting it open. That was amazing. And then the other one, making that whole playing area, the rooftops, because like you said, was able to bring everyone in. And if you look at the audience is thrilled. The audience is like kids and its relatives. There's somebody dressed like Mary Poppins in the audience, which I was like, what? Since
they let her.
I don't know who this is. And so she sat there. And then even when we got to bring the cake out on a little thing, and JoJo brings it out, and it was like very close. We weren't even on stage for the climax of the show. That happy birthday, it happened in the audience, right at his table. And as I was watching it off stage, I looked behind me and like, half the cast of Dancing with the Stars had wandered in and they
Aw.
were watching it too, because a lot of the, they knew a lot of the dancers, but they also wanted just to get a look, at
Yeah.
Dick Van Dyke, because he kind of represents a lot of, why they do what they do.
Yeah.
So it really had, the energy was really good. And that doesn't happen,
No,
on
that was.
sets
I mean,
much.
those confetti cannons were a little scary.
He nearly didn't see 99 because of those confetti cannons.
I mean,
I
in
know,
any
I was
sense,
scared.
in any show, in any, they're always a little like, we're gonna do it right. Everybody's ready. Okay. I almost killed Julie Louis-Dreyfus on a balloon drop once. She got smothered with balloons, so I know how it goes. Like,
Not when that thing popped, we knew it was coming. We didn't know
yeah,
it was going to be that loud. And when that thing went, it was. I think everybody just immediately looked at Dick to see if he'd survived it.
yeah,
It was pretty. Like John was saying, with the nice thing with the audience was it was very close and very intimate, but it was a lot of it was his friends and his family, and it was people who had invited him. So it wasn't just in bringing the studio audience; they were his guests.
yeah.
So, and it was a couple of hundred, and there was. Larry Matthews, who was in the Dick Van Dyke Show, he was there with his wife. Karen Detrice, who was the little girl in Mary Poppins, she was there with her husband. And so they were sitting at a table to the left. And, I was talking, Karen's a friend of mine, I was talking to her, and she was talking about the rooftops, and Larry was talking about the living room.
Right.
And it was great to have that they were comparing. And it was, we afterwards we were like, well, why didn't we go to Larry, a month ago, asking what color that wall's supposed to be?
Larry, the funny thing about Larry, now Larry's like 10 years old when he did this show. He was
Right.
right. And I had a little cigarette bowl lighter with a little other thing that had matches in it, which was and it was like exactly what was on the table
Nice.
from the show. And Larry walks up and he's just like, "Oh yeah, I used to, take cigarettes out of here and smoke them behind the set." He was like, "It was just like this. I used to just take them right off the set." I'm like, "Okay, what were you, 10?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's exactly
It
right."
was the 60s,
So
50s,
he thought it was exactly
60s.
perfect. He was like, "I remember it. This is what it looks like in my head,"
Oh, that's the biggest compliment. That's the best
Yeah,
compliment.
really.
It really
He was
is.
very complimentary about the set, which was obviously adorable. And then Arlene Van Dyke, Dick's wife, she messaged me sometime later, and she said, I think it was when we got the Emmy nomination, but she said something to the effect of that it was, in her eyes, after Dick, the set was the star of the show.
Hmm.
And it was, we went over, we were fortunate at the end of it all that the three of us went over with the director and some others to meet Dick and Arlene at the very end of this thing. And we're sitting there on the couch with them, covered in confetti and, surrounded by cake. And as we were talking about it, Dick was talking about the set, and he was saying, and he made some joke about, if I'd known the living room had a dance floor in the middle of it, we'd have done that on the show. And but he was talking about it, and it made it into the edit of the final product. But he was criticizing the painting on the wall because we'd redone
I
all the
know, I was
painting.
gonna bring that up, that he always hated that painting.
Always hated that, so we gave it to him. We wrapped it up and sent it to him as his birthday present. And they still have it apparently, according to his wife. But that was his thing, that he it was cute that was put in the show. But he told us afterwards about how he hated the painting, and he says, at the end of the day, it's not a good painting.
Yeah,
So we had to put it in.
yeah.
So,
And I got confirmation on the lamp. The one thing that was in the Dick Van Dyke Show originally was the lamp. Yeah, no, it was the exact lamp.
Oh
And
wow.
it was
Where was that at? Omega?
it's right on the couch. It's right behind the couch. They
Right.
had this giant lamp, huge, sitting right behind
Yeah,
the
it's
couch.
huge.
Every shot. When you see it in black and white, you kind of see that it's a ceramic lamp and it's sort of striped and it's blue, but you don't really get the fact that it actually was sparkly. So I had asked Larry about it. I was just like, "This is the lamp, isn't it?" Because I, put them together many times. And he goes, "Yeah, it had a little bit of a sparkle to it." So that lamp was in Warner Brothers fixtures.
Warner Brothers? Wow.
On a shelf.
Oh, Warner Brothers.
And it was just like, and like I said, my wife found it actually. She's my shopper. And she was just like, "This is the lamp." And we put it together and it was,
That's
which is crazy.
incredible that it has survived how many rentals throughout the years. That's incredible.
Exactly. And it's like the shade was probably redone, but
Yeah.
it was the same lamp. I mean, I had more luck when for a commercial many years ago, I had to recreate the Psycho house, which has been done a bunch of times. But I actually found many things from the actual movie. They were still around. If you remember, Kim, if you remember House of Props,
Oh yeah, they had some great stuff.
he had the Cupid at the
Ugh.
bottom of the steps. He had all the art. He had everything.
But where
He
did
was like,
oh, it gets auctioned off. It's not like
yeah,
every prop house just gives everything to every other prop house. It gets like auctioned off to people and
right.
people
They
hang.
auction that stuff off because he had
Yeah.
expensive stuff. But Norm was like, "Oh, you're doing Psycho? This,
Oh,
and
and you
this."
knew. Oh.
Okay. So anyway, but on this show, he didn't get that lucky. So
I'm gonna share my screen, which I always get a little panic about. Let's see if are you seeing my screen now?
yep, yep.
Yes. And now I go to view and I enter full screen and look at that. I'm a pro now. So there you guys are. Let's take this maybe down here, over here. I don't want to tell your names, but we'll take you right here for a second. Emmy nominated for Outstanding Production Design for a Variety Special. Congratulations, guys. It's so exciting.
Thank
It
you.
really is. Thank you very
So
much.
exciting. Let's look at some pictures of your beautiful work. There it is. There's that picture. There's that lamp. Gosh.
Yeah.
It's big. I mean, the set's big.
It was, yeah, it was a lot of space to cover. It really was.
Yeah. And
It was the one thing that we'd, as we started looking, and the more we went into it, I mean, we're going through YouTube and through Google trying to find the show, and we wanted to get it as close to accurate as possible. But the one thing that we added is on the downstage left, on the right hand side of the screen, is the Dick Van Dyke Show wall. And that wall was never in the set, and in the set, you would behind this, think wall here was the kitchen.
right.
And at no point during our show did we feel it was necessary to try and build the kitchen as well. And there was budget and time, and there's just no relevance for it. And so the set would have been if we'd ended it at that kitchen wall, the brown wall with where the telephone is, it would have been very asymmetrical. And so we felt we had to add something to balance the wall
Yeah, the
up, because it
balance.
goes a long way over to the orange wall, but then it stops short on the other side. And so Steve and I were talking about how do we balance it out. And said, well, let's put a wall in. We'll match the wallpaper so it ties in. But it was back and forth as to what goes on the wall, because it is very prominent. It's right there. It's right in front of the audience. It's close to the audience than pretty much anything else. And it didn't exist. So we felt if we fake it and put a generic picture up, it'll be wrong.
Right.
If we there was one point, one idea was to put, say, family photos. So we put a bit of Dick and Mary and family photos, so it looked like a photo wall. But truthfully, are they going to read? Are we going to get clearance to use those photos?
Yeah.
So then the conclusion was that we would put the logo on. Again, it didn't exist, but we thought, well, it just shows what it is, and it doesn't really offend anybody. It doesn't contradict anything that was there. And we put that up and hope that it would. The lettering is the same texture as the wallpaper, so it was there to be it's there, but it was subtle. And it was so subtle, they put a spotlight on it, and it was anything but subtle. It was like the one thing you saw more, even when they darkened the set, that was still lit. So it became a wall that we hoped you didn't really notice, and it ended up being probably the most lit part of the set. But
Yeah, it gave them opportunity. It's like when people came out to have that as their background and, something to come off of. Yeah, it was
that
nice.
was it. It was. I mean, it was. I think we had Roma Downey was in this, because as people came out from each side of some people would make an entrance from one side and then some from the other. And I think it was Roma Downey stood there, and that was her background, and
Yeah.
it worked.
Yeah.
It was that was a little problem we had to solve, because we didn't really know how to make the set look balanced without creating something that looked wrong. So the logo seemed like a good place to go.
They had a lot of doors on their set.
A lot of what? Sorry,
Doors. Doors.
what did you say?
They had a lot of doors in their set.
A lot of doors. Well, there's they do. So there's the main door. The main front door is the one upstage center to the right, which is upstage right,
Yeah.
rather, behind the green chair and the ottoman. That's the main one. That's the front door. But then there's closet, bedroom, kitchen, other bedroom. So and people making entrances, so we had to kind of put some backing walls behind some of them, but not all of them. But yeah, it.
Yeah, and I found out like the day before they had this gag where they opened that door, the closet door right next to the front door, and it was supposedly full of presents that had to fly out and bury whoever was opening it. I'm like, okay, well, I got what, about 14 hours to get that together. So yeah, so I had my guys in that area, the like soffit above that door. I had a guy on a ladder up there pushing things out.
Presents,
Go
throwing
down.
presents down.
Yeah, that was kind of a rebuild because that door and the door next to it were dummies. They didn't work,
Right.
and suddenly it was like, we need to open the closet. So not only did we have to kind of go in and make it a true door, because it wasn't, it was just a flat wall that had got molding on it. So then we had to cut a door in and put a door into it, but also then we had to build the closet behind it with a hole in, with an open roof for the presents to fall through. But it was suddenly, that was certainly day of show kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's, and it's just that part of production that someone comes up with an idea and the set has to be modified.
I always say, are you asking me or are you telling me I have to do this? They're usually not asking me. They're telling me it's going to happen. So here's the set open up, and you see the audience and everything in the surround, and the lighting is down, and it's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful atmosphere, and
if you see on that, this is a good example to show it. The detail on the performance stage, if you see that, the shapes there, and then if you look at the hood of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, you see that's where.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's great.
The car was beautiful. I mean, it was really cool to see the car and to kind of, but then that Saturday, it started with Dick and Arlene. The opening of the show had Dick and Arlene in the car, and the Jason Alexander came out when the stage split and singing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And they went and danced around the car with Dick and Arlene in it. And then we got a commercial. And when they come back now, they're in the booth that you see them there. This is right after Step in Time. So that's JoJo and her gang all surrounding Dick and Arlene in the little booth that we picked, which the booth itself was one that John found. And it was to match the interior of the car. It was the red leather, the kind of burgundy leather, tufted leather seating. And we tied that into that. And then there were certain elements of it, particularly the back and the sides of the booth, that we matched elements of the car. So there was some wood paneling on it. So it didn't, no one's going to look at it and think that it was the car, but it tied to it. There was a relation with it.
How long was the taping? A couple hours?
It was a 2-hour show that we shot in just under 3 hours, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, and the thing is, Dick is there the whole time. I mean, he didn't leave, or I mean, the amount of energy that guy had was stunning for 98.
98.
He was there after the show. I mean, our jib op was joking. He goes over to Dick and he's like, "Hey, can you help me wrap up the jib with me?" Like he was just.
It was exactly that. There was concern, not concern, but there was one of the things we were told going into it was, if Dick doesn't, Dick is a 98-year-old man. He might be an hour in and say, you know what, I'm done. And we had to prepare for that. And it was always the concern that, well, what we'd do at that point, we would shoot the finale with the confetti. We would let Dick go home, clean up the confetti, and we'd shoot the rest of the show and just not see that he's not there. And we'd somehow shoot around it. And it just didn't happen. He came in, sat down, got in the car, and he was, between commercials or between takes, he would stand up in the car and was talking to the audience. He was shouting things out and he was telling stories. And then we got him in the seat, and he was, well, at one point he got his family to come and sit with him, and all his grandchildren were there.
It was so sweet. That was so sweet.
Yeah, and it was that sort of thing. He wasn't there to film a TV show. He was there to attend a party.
Yeah.
And he stayed all the way to the end. And again, we thought that would be it. Him and Arlene would leave, but he didn't. He stayed, and that's when we got to talk to him. And by then, there was people take the set down. The audience were leaving, but people coming to talk to him. And I would say, for a good hour after the show, he was still there, and he was just loving it. There was no, there was no urgency for him to leave. He left when he was ready, and it was, great to see, because we don't know Dick Van Dyke, and we know him, but we don't know him personally, so we didn't really know what to expect until he showed up.
Yeah.
And he came
Yeah.
on.
You could have been like, thanks, bye. But he sat and enjoyed it. He enjoyed, you know, probably the people there and the set and relished in it. I mean, it's a big accomplishment and it's to be celebrated.
One of the commercial breaks, he has these guys that sing with him sometimes. He has a barbershop quartet. They're called like the Fantastics or something. And they came in and they sang the Dick Van Dyke theme has lyrics, okay, which I didn't know,
Right.
written by Ray Amsterdam. And so anyway, they go in and they sing it in 4-part harmony. This is during Stop Down, but they shot it and then that made it into the show
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, my God.
as a bumper, but that was not planned. I mean, those guys were there. They came over and he was like, let's sing it.
Oh.
Yeah. At the end of this, and James alluded to earlier, we had this great photo that's one of those like memories that you'll always cherish. Like this photo of all of us with Dick Van Dyke around that couch. And it's like, we should send it to you after this, but
Oh, yeah.
it's just a really, really great memory. And while we had this picture up real quick, I just want to say like the lighting department did us so well and helped us out so much. And if you actually look on those downstage steps, we didn't have the budget to incorporate lighting into them. So those are just holes drilled into the rise of the steps.
Oh,
And they're
nice.
backlit with like big, I think X4 bars or something on the ground to make them look
Nice.
individual bulbs. And those things, I mean, we really wanted like something on those. It's so prominent on this set, the downstage. So we wanted something there. And I think it really just helps, delineate the performance space and gives it, a little pizzazz.
It gave it that showbiz, kind of chasing look type of thing. And it was a real simple way of doing it. And like to Steve's point with the lighting, you don't really see it here, but when the set was in, there was an old fashioned, there was like a grid flew in that had old lights on it over the set.
Oh, right.
And they had to kind of give that.
Did you get that,
feel.
John?
What?
Did you get the old lights? Because you were on camera.
No, they got all these.
Oh, they did.
I think they were juniors, actually, is what they used to call them back in the day.
Maybe junior.
Yeah, they're just renting from CBS. They've got all that stuff.
CBS has.
They still use it.
That's just that stock stuff.
That's just still up in the perms. They just lower them down.
It's just got it lit.
How
But then
big?
that was the
How big is the set? Like, what is your space here that you're designing, that you had to design?
I have
Well, stage 36. This is stage 36 at Television City, which was CBS Television City, and this pretty much filled the stage. This is where this is a big stage where they used to do American Idol and the lights, but it basically filled the set from far aisle to far aisle. This on the left hand side of the screen is the big tall chimney. There's one on the other side that was framed the audience, and that was almost at the far aisle to far aisle. So I think that's, Steve can get you that measurement, but it was, I mean, this is 100 feet wide or something like that, 80 feet, 100 feet wide.
Wow.
Like that.
in this position, when the Dick Van Dyke Show set is mobilated off stage, we're at about 85 feet wide, and the performance space is about 45 feet.
Wow.
So as you see, the audience then goes wider than that. So I think it was a big. I mean, it was a lot of space to fill, and it was again for time and budget. It was a bit of a challenge to try and fill up the entire space with the amount of stuff we had, money we had, basically, to kind of build all this stuff.
John, do you get the seating in the chimney area? Do you have to get that stadium seating?
Yeah, I got the seating. Yeah,
is it just
No, I got that.
folding?
It was basically, your classic Bentwood, situation with the cafe table. But we did go back and forth about lights or flowers, which was really weird because I was like, I always love lights.
Right.
But
They don't
when
have
it came
cords.
down to it, I think I think Plestis or somebody was just like, no lights. And I was like, okay. So I'm like, it's got to have something, because these guys are sitting there. So I went, there's a really good florist because I didn't have time. There was a really good florist just across the street who made all these great flowers for me. And then a really nice one to put on the table, which James and Steve designed in front of Dick, which was a glass top. And then it had a hat giant hat and it was being held up by canes, which I don't know if you've seen that shot, but it's an amazing little table that actually went to a Dick Van Dyke super fan. But across the street, I had her do those because she was already doing a carousel horse in this whole big thing of flowers they needed for supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. So she was doing that. So I said, look, I need, 20 arrangements, you know, like now. And so
it was kind of comical because we were building this set right up till, I mean, we were messing with it right up till the last minute there. So it was like, we were right up till the last minute, we were trying to get everything in. It was right up till taping. And yet the note the night before was, are we having lights on the table or flowers? And it's like, you, like just said, got 100 feet by 100-foot set.
Yeah.
All of every bit we're picking up on is, are we going to have lights? What are they going to look like? What about flowers? What are they going to look like? And it's like, meanwhile, we're just trying to move the set.
Yeah.
And the reason why I put the horse at the flowers across the street is because I didn't really have access to much of a truck or trucking because everybody was busy, and I thought I was going to have to literally push this freaking horse down the lane. And this is CBS. I mean, it was this close to that happening. So I was like, okay.
Just going across Beverly.
Yeah, I was willing to do it. I was going to just push it down the side. I mean, it's LA. There are weirder things happen.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. Here is your gorgeous set all put together with Rob Reiner coming out in the beginning. Yeah, it's really pretty.
This was the first time the set was seen in color because it opened, the opening of the show had Rob coming through the door in black and white, like the old Dick Van Dyke show, and he walks in and avoids the ottoman, comes down stage center, and then it went wide, and you saw it go from black and white into the color. So this was the first time we saw it in color as a complete set, and it was I don't know. I mean, you could say it was a challenge, but this was a lot of fun to try and do this and to try and get it right for all of us. Just to try and Steve and I sat down early on with in SketchUp, moving it around and trying to, mock together what we thought the set basically was, and then you match it to footage so that you're looking at certain angles to see if you're looking from this angle, you can see the door, but the brick fireplace is blocking that door, and it was a way to kind of recreate it, which was fun to get it because we felt that none of us felt that close enough was okay. It had to be right. It had to match.
Yeah.
Everything as close, even down to moldings. I mean, the sets side of it that Steve and I were dealing with, there was the door panels on the front door specifically, a kind of a weird shape. They're not a regular 6-panel door. And so we got there was I went through episode after episode until finally somebody walked in the front door and then walked away, and you saw the door square on clean without anybody in front of it. And we took the screen grab of it and then laid it out to trace the panels because they are a kind of an irregular shape. And we had the door done to match that. And it was silly things like that, even the pictures on the wall or the light switches or the key chain, the little chain on the door chain. There was these little things like that we thought that if we're going to put it there, we might as well get as close as possible to being how it was sooner than just something that's close and it'll be fine. We wanted it to be right. I know he has a huge fan base, and we know that the show, there's Facebook pages for the show, and we just know these people are going to be looking at it.
Yeah.
And we wanted him to feel that it was right. We wanted to know it was right, but we wanted him to feel that it was right. But also, if people are watching it, some people will watch it and think, "Oh, I remember that set," but then other people are going to know everything.
It's a respect about you.
If we're going to put the horse picture in, put the right horse picture in. If we're going to put the couch, John will tell you that the couch was.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I sprung on James like the day before. So I get that couch with that weird oblique angle over there, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it was. But behind it, I thought there was just a table that has that lamp on, but it's not a table. I found another shot of it, and it's a fully customized backing that's like a shelf. And when I did more research on that, I found out that the reason why that couch and that shelf is being used is because Carl Reiner had that in his basement and he really liked it. So when he did the show, he said, I want that recreated on the set. So that's really literally from his basement.
Oh my God.
And so when we made it, I said to James, I'm like, you're going to have to build a whole thing around this. I think your scenic was like doing that, day of, right?
Day on, literally a day on.
Does it
Yeah.
end where the lamp is, or does it doesn't go to the end?
It
goes-
kind of ends where the cushion is. It's
Yeah.
almost
Where the
like
cushion
a
is.
little to the right of the lamp, a
Yeah.
little further
Oh,
over.
right
but yeah,
there. I see it. Right there.
See, and the other thing we found out was that's a full sectional. One of the sections that it was wherever they bought it the first time, because it kind of straightens itself out, is used as a couch in the other part of the set. So that other couch that's to Rob Reiner's, well, the right of the screen, that's part of the same couch. They just like used it
Oh, I
over
see.
there. Yeah, it's the other piece of the sectional.
Another thing we went through on this is like trying to find the right carpet that not only matches what they had on the show and tone and stuff, but we needed something with a bit more pile to it to hide the split in.
Right.
And we went through like countless samples and we're like viewing all the clips from the show, which, by the way, I mean, this is kind of not my generation. And I started watching the Dick Van Dyke Show and I was just like,
Wow.
it holds up like terrific. I was laughing my ass off throughout the episodes I saw, but I finally found one where there's a clear shot of the floor, and I'm looking, and their floor is actually just pieced together much worse. It was like triangle sections and stuff, clear seams that you could see, and then this photo, you can barely tell the center seam in the floor.
No, and
Yeah.
because it does, you do not know that this split is coming. It's a beautiful surprise.
One of the things what we talked about this with this split early on was that we wanted to make sure nobody knew it was coming, and the viewer, Dick, and that, as Steve said, the carpet that they had was a very low pile, and it was real bad condition carpet. But that was a concern, that was, you put that together and you're going to see a join, and if people see a join, are they going to think about, maybe they don't, but are they going to see that something might be coming, or do they see that the set has a join in the middle of it? And the long pile kind of masks it
Yeah.
quite well. I don't think anyone saw it coming, and it was just enough that when you put it together, it just disappeared for the most part. I mean, if you look, you can see it's there, but if you're not looking for it, you don't notice it. So that was the whole. There was a big part of our thing was this, when this set splits, nobody sees it coming, and it was nice that they did show a reaction shot of Dick and
Of Dick.
Arlene as well. I mean, the audience kind of reacted, but in the studio, but you see Dick and Arlene who were just not expecting it, which is nice.
So Dick
You
had
know.
no idea what was coming in the show. No. Do you think maybe, I mean, he's 98. Do you think we should?
No, he said he thought he was going to show up and just answer some questions. He said that many
Really?
times. He goes, I thought I was just going to show up, answer some questions. I didn't expect, a Broadway show.
Yeah, kept calling it a Broadway show, and I think Arlene served as an executive producer on this, and she's also nominated for an Emmy for the best show with this show. And I believe that they met with her, and they probably told her several things about what was happening. But I think and she oversaw.
Mm-hmm.
She was aware of certain things because she's going to protect Dick. But I think that I'm not sure if he was told certain things and he just didn't remember, or if there was a certain element on her side and producer side that, well, let's let Dick be surprised.
Yeah,
And he
let the reaction. Yeah.
You know, as long as she knew there was nothing that was going to embarrass him or make him feel uncomfortable, or she knew potentially what was happening. I don't know that it was ever explained to her or about the set splitting. I don't know if he even knew that this set was going to be here. But it was, from our understanding, he had no idea what any of it was coming, and I think that you can see that. I think that there is a genuine surprise, not just at the set split, but as different people came out, he didn't know they were coming, and then as different people sung songs, he had a lot of it made it into the show, but there was a lot of, after every performance, he would talk to the performer and congratulate them and thank them, and tell them what a great job they'd done, and he was very Ian was enjoying it. There was no question about how much he enjoyed it. There was not an act. He was genuinely emotional about every single part of this.
And there wasn't a dry eye in the house at sometimes. One point he was just like, hey, I love this set. I really wish like Mary, Maury, and Sally could have been here.
Aw.
And everybody was like,
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, that
okay.
was,
You don't, yeah. I mean, that is the biggest compliment, design and decorating wise, like just like invoking the emotion and getting it right. And I mean, that's the when recreating things, and it's always the challenge is there, but the reward is always the best, I feel.
I think there's always someone waiting to tell you that you got it wrong. And so we
Yeah,
tried to
there
get
is.
there ahead of the game and
Yeah,
do as much of it as we could. That was
yeah.
even this is, I know with the shot here on the
This,
right hand side where you see the bricks and there's the kind of 3 white bricks and then below that there's another white brick. I mean, I went into this with Scenic and with a photograph of the original and was counting with them
well,
paint which ones were white to match the original because there's a certain percentage, like 15 or 20% of the bricks on the fireplace are a lot more white in color. And I was talking to Scenic about it, saying this, paint 15 or 20, but I was like, sooner than just randomly do it, let's paint the ones that were. So Fahe at Television City and I were there with blue tape going across, counting down bricks and putting tape on the ones that needed to go white to try and match. Because if there was someone ever put the two next to each other, we wanted to
yeah.
not just resemble it, but look like it.
Is that
So it was
wallpaper? Is that, or is that painted?
textured, that's a dimensional painted vacuform brick.
No, 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 the wallpaper.
Mm.
Is that,
It was
is it wallpaper or is it painted?
wallpaper.
It's wallpaper. Is it grass mat or is it?
It was a grass. I went to Aztec and went through a bunch of books with them and came up with I think 4 or 5 that I felt were close.
Mm.
And Television City asked them to send them availability, and they never got back. So they kept calling and calling, and we were pushing on time, and they never responded. So CBS Graphics or Television City Graphics printed this.
Wow. It's amazing what we
So
can
we
do.
ran out of time, and so this was they took the grass mat thing and they printed a paper. So it looks textured, but it's smooth as anything.
You got some tight drapes there, John. I mean, you train them very well. I'm very jealous of those draped legs there.
And those had been let out from the last time they were used for Dick Van Dyke, so they weren't anywhere near the right size. And I think I was going so fast, I gave them the wrong like size measurement. So I was like, crap, I put them up and they're like pooling on the ground like 3 feet. I'm
No.
like, crap. So I had to run back to I had to go to Universal actually because Omega was too far away.
Yeah.
And they rushed them to the right length and we put them back in. And
I dream of drapes that train.
it happened. But we had the same thing. I mean, I had my dressers just had pictures. I had printed out set pictures and I said, look, the bookcase, we recreated the bookcase almost.
Yeah. Do you have one of the bookcase? Oh, it's
You
Christmas.
can't really,
Yeah.
I don't think there are any pictures of that, but we did the same thing that James did with the bricks. I mean, we really
Yeah.
made it exactly right. And the tchotchkes and stuff.
When John put those in and you looked at it, there was the top shelf had 4 books and a piece of like an ornament, and then the next one had 6 books and a different piece, but it matched all the way down, and it was that kind of
Yeah.
detail that got. And Craig Plestis, who was the executive producer, was is a huge fan of Dick Van Dyke. I believe he's a huge fan of the Dick Van Dyke Show, but he was in there looking at everything, and he was so excited about every piece because he knew we'd put all the effort in and got it as close as we possibly could.
Yeah,
truthfully, we were left alone for this. They never really.
It's so nice.
yeah.
We're doing the set, and it was like okay. And then the next time they saw it, the set was in. It was not really. We weren't policed at all on any of the details. We were just trusted as a team that the 3 of us were gonna put in the effort to get it as close as possible. And no one really. We sent some very early renderings. And we showed, and it had to go to CBS to show the network what it was going to be because it was a CBS special, and so they needed to sign off. But and I think their main contribution was talking about the audience. We scaled back for financial reasons and to keep the number down, but then they wanted it bigger, and so the audience grew again. That was their main involvement. And the set, we were left alone completely with this. This was us three putting our,
That's awesome.
as much effort as we felt. We weren't pushed at all. And then they didn't see it till we came into the studio.
And look at the set looks completely different here with the lighting, and it's bright and it's cheery, like because it's decorated.
Yeah.
We're looking at a photo where it's decorated for Christmas.
Right, right. And you see, it's like it's like I looked at those specials and they didn't really go crazy. It's just
I like that. I like that vibe. Why
right.
can't
Yeah,
we
it's
stick
like
to that?
It's like a poinsettia meant Christmas.
I'm in
type of thing.
Halloween hell right now, so why can't we stick to that?
But yeah, I mean, it was really nice. We just one straight up large tree, and I was just glad they were able to. Dancers always freak out when they have to dance on a rug. It's always like a problem.
Yeah,
But
but
they were
great. They were
Yeah,
really great.
Yeah, I think they're actually nominated for choreography as well, right?
All the
Yeah.
performances were really great. The singers, I mean, the talent, it was all really, really great.
Jeez.
Oh, here's more.
Yeah, see that chair right in the middle there?
Yeah.
That was a black leather chair without any of that wood on it that I got from some hipster in Silver Lake off of Facebook Marketplace.
Well,
And I took it to the
Facebook
guy.
Marketplace is like the go-to now. Forget it.
Right?
Thank God.
It was
I mean, yeah.
It was like, I think it was like $70 or something.
This
But
is
it
like
was,
a painting.
I thought this was a still that we went from.
this is it. And I went in there because it was the only one I found that had the right shape. It didn't have the wood accents or anything, but it had the right, it was the bucket chair with the wheels from the 50s or 60s. And my furniture builder recovered it and added those pieces of wood.
Oh,
to it,
wow.
like the chair. He put them right around and when that one is dead on. I mean, yeah.
Oh,
So
the
that
one
was,
yeah. I might be.
and then how many times do you get to use a triangle pillow?
I know, never.
Just
Never.
amazing. And that one, you see that one, the weird one that's there?
The one with the squares.
Yeah, that one. In almost every episode, that weird pillow was on the couch. That doesn't match anything else in the place. And that's what it looked like. And that we recreated. My seamstress put that together from two different
Pillows.
fabric.
You didn't
It
pick
had-
that up at Home Goods?
No, we didn't.
Oh, okay. Here is a shot of the stage open, and then we're looking at like the performance of, I forget, what performance is this?
It's just for Chitty Chitty Bang
Oh,
Bang.
Chitty Chitty.
First one.
That's
Yeah.
right, the first one, yeah. And then this huge screen is all cogs and wheels. And I will tell you, when I watched it, the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, because they're tight on this. You don't see that it's a screen at first. They're tight on it. And I was like, oh my God, like got those big cogs and everything. That's crazy. And then they pulled out and I was like, oh, it's a screen. It's like-
If you want to think that we took the time to build all those, go for it.
I'm not, I know,
I found them.
I was in.
Yeah.
I was all in of
Facebook
like, holy
Marketplace.
shit. Look at this set. But then I was like, oh my gosh, so they opened it up and it's a oh, that's cool. So yeah.
No, but I do remember Steve saying that the screen was curved because we work with a lot of screens. And I was like, I didn't know you even could curve that screen. But
Well, the curve helped us in the sense that we were talking about, we'd come up with this idea of splitting the sitcom set. And then they were talking about how do we do the opening. And we kept saying the fact that, you can split it so you can have it together, you can have it at the end, but we want the split to be seen on camera. And then because it was curved, when the screen was closed, there was like a gap now behind the set. And we were talking with the choreographers and the creative directors, and we were saying, well, if you want, you could put Jason Alexander behind that and the marching band, because now there's that gap that the curve provided. And it gave them a space to fit behind the screen, behind the set and in front of the screen, so that when the screen did split, they were there. They didn't have to wait for them to kind of get into the room. They were right behind the gap. So when you do see the set split, immediately Jason Alexander is standing behind it because a space was created by the curved screen.
One of our other struggles on having this thing split is you can see in this view on stage right, on downstage right, we had to cantilever those decks about, I think that's a 10-foot cantilever with straight casters at the very downstage edge because it has to go over the stairs. And obviously it can't, you can't have wheels over the stairs. So every time this thing opened and closed, we were just like crossing our fingers that we would stay in the same line, downstage, up and right, downstage and upstage. So we've got like, again, we were fortunate that it opened and closed like 3 times. We were working on that until right before show, I would say, building our own little track of 1x3 to make sure the casters stay within. And we had some great help from the people down at All Access to make it work. But
it was that concern. We were kind of saying, you can open the stage and we can go in, we can have it open, we can have it closed, it's going to be great. But when it came to it, they weren't going to, they only used it 2 or 3 times. It was disappointing, but a relief because, like Steve said, when it moved, it's only got to go off on a slight angle and suddenly it's going in the wrong direction, and then to bring it back together. So it had its problems, but it worked. That's the main thing.
John,
also, you'd be backstage in the wings, and in one setup you had all this wing space, and then the next setup the wings disappeared. So when we were bringing up, the lampposts and things like that, it was like, oh, we got all this space right here, and then the thing opens up. It's like, okay, we don't have any space, so it's down here. It was really weird.
And John, did you have to butyl down all your items like when this moved?
No, actually, we did. It was pretty smooth though. I was kind of shocked.
Yeah.
We did butyl down everything, but yeah, it was pretty smooth. I expected to be a lot shakier, but when you see it, it's
Yeah.
That was our concern, that it starts moving and all the lamps start kind of.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I would be afraid of.
It was a combination of the two. I mean, they were fixed down, but it didn't actually. There wasn't the jolt as it moved or the jolt as it stopped. So we kind of got away with it.
Very smooth, very nice. Derek. It's beautiful in the blue and bringing it down, and really.
Yeah, you can see the steps Steve was talking about
there you really see it.
Individual.
This was pre-taped. Derek had to go out of town, so this was pre-taped the night before. And if you look, the pictures aren't on the wall at the back. The fireplace isn't in place yet, and with the pipe that went up. So the set, I don't think we ever saw the sitcom set during this segment because it was close on Derek. But this was the night before, so the set isn't. So that shows you how close we were till the day that we were still building on the day, because here's the night before and the set isn't finished.
I know everything is down to the last minute. All the time.
Do you remember this? When we were doing this, Derek was doing his piece, and then you kept hearing this, and it was a guy underneath the stage was stapling back of these holes. He kept saying, "Hold the work," and Derek's doing his emotional piece to camera, and there's a guy underneath him stapling back of the stairs. So
we gotta get it done. Oh, this is beautiful. Look at the back. Look at the design you gave on the reverse. I mean, that is beautiful. Beautiful. Really stunning. Now I see the table more. Oh, that's beautiful.
See, there's the table with the canes and the hat.
I don't know if I can zoom in. No, I can't zoom in. Yeah.
The great thing was a lot of the stuff was all like those skylights weren't, we could move them around because we had to, because when they were dancing, we had to clear, 7, 8 tables, like between almost every break, because of the way things were coming in and coming out. So it was me and my guys and PAs and everybody just sort of like, and then you had to move the audience. I mean, some of the audience had to literally cleared and put back in. So it was, I mean, I wish we had another day of rehearsal, but it was kind of like, just do it.
When we started the show, when Dick and Arlene are in the car is further forward. The couch and the platform that is on it isn't even there. Right. And so we had this move, and we started them in the car. We thought that was important for that song. Then we moved the car back, but we've got to get this in. And it was this panic about it because, again, going back to what we were saying, we didn't really know how long we'd got Dick for. And it was saying we can't, have him do his piece and then taken away while we reset for 20 minutes. So this all had to be done instantly. I mean, it wasn't instantly, but like within minutes, we had to kind of choreograph how we were going to swap get the couch in, put the car back into its B position, put some audience back in where the car was prior. So there was a bit of a dance around that had to happen very, very quickly, because if we had a limited time with Dick, we didn't want to spend 20 minutes of it moving cars. So this was the B position. So we started with the car, and then we moved to this. And
I know this is like a technical question, and I don't work in variety, but I don't understand how you said before, like during a commercial break, you're filming like to tape? Because I worked on Wheel of Fortune and I know like they basically film the whole show as if it's airing. So did you do it like that? But then you're saying like we didn't know like how long it would take him to get out of the car to get over there. Like so you had that. You also had that. Whoopsie. You also had that going on where you had those moments, or you had to have had more time in between for some of these setups, right? Or moving stage pieces. No?
we do, but it was kind of like the natural script calls for, we go to commercial with Dick and Arlene in the car, and then we stop down. And so now we're in a commercial break, but it's not 3 minutes. We've got the time to do it, but
Oh, yeah.
we reset.
But it does have to happen fast, because they were very, and we have this on Masked Singer too. It's like they're very worried about the audience losing its energy.
Mm,
So kind of want to do everything fast. And when we do Dancing with the Stars, we only have that's live.
right,
So
right.
you have 3 minutes, and that's all you have. And if it doesn't get on there, you're screwed. And James and I, we put a freaking 4-wall interior set fully dressed once in that 3-minute period, which was crazy.
Reproduction, wasn't it? Facts of Life.
Yeah, Facts of Life set. Yeah, that was another recreation, but I mean, that was a fireplace, a staircase. I mean, it was like, and fully dressed living room. And I still don't know how we did that in 3 minutes.
We did it in a commercial break. We put it in a commercial break, took it out in a commercial break.
Where's your Emmy for that?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's a very sore point.
Very sore point. But yeah, so all this had to be bounced around a whole bunch of times. And luckily we had a really good crew that could, really work hard.
I only asked that because of the moving of the car and then bringing in the booth, and that piece seems like, and then the chairs and everything seems like that didn't take 3 minutes.
I think we got it
moving
pretty
Dick
nailed.
around.
I think
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty quick. I was shocked.
No.
the circle platform, the red circle platform that the car's on, is on wheels.
Hmm.
And I think like John says about the skylights, they were movable. So they had started off in a different position. The car was forward. The couch was somewhere else. I don't know where that was.
It was off stage. The whole thing was off stage.
The platform was out of the studio. Yeah, the whole thing, that was it.
That whole thing was off.
We wheeled the whole thing out of the studio. And so it was as soon as we went into commercial, as it were, that came in, the car moved back, the people sat down, and off we went. But it was choreographed, choreographed. I mean, it was planned and rehearsed a couple of times. But we knew we just got to do it as fast as we can, because, again, even at that point, we didn't know. I mean, Dick was in great spirits at the start, but we didn't know if, 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in, he might just say, you know what, I can't do this.
James, did you fly over to London to do some research on these rooftops? Did you fly back?
Of course, yes.
And then here's your rooftop performance.
There they are.
There they are.
Yeah, then we rigged smoke to come out of a few of them too. It's like we had effects back, literally smoke coming out of a few of those. It was a lot.
There's a lot of favors happening on this show.
Yeah, it really was.
A lot of
And all the roof tiles are all, they look dimensional. They look like they have some texture and dimension to it, but it's all just scenic. I mean, it was scenic. Loved doing it. The scenic department loved doing this, because all the brick, it's just flat, and it was all painted, hand painted to give it dimension. But none of these roof tiles or the bricks have any dimension to them physically. It's all a painted thing. And I think some of the scenic department at Television City are so, kind of get bored of painting step silver or a light box white or a wall black. And so to suddenly have this, where they were doing texture and soot and roof tiles and bricks, and they really enjoyed it. It was just a shame that it was such a rush, to be quite honest, that it was, they didn't have the time to really finesse it. But we looked at the original Step in Time footage and recreated certain things like the skylights. This window here that Jojo's standing on with that's the little kind of dormer window, that is part of what was on that set. And there was the railings on the very top, they were on the set. So we took all these elements from the step in time thing and kind of manipulate them to fit into our configuration. But the shapes of the chimneys and the roofs and the chimney pots was all taken from all the chimney pots were recreated. They were all and they're all taken from the footage of the original clip. And we just, kind of notched it all together in no time.
That's
And
really
also,
great.
our vendors and even the talent, just the name Dick Van Dyke, they were all so eager to be a part of this. I can tell you, like Jojo Siwa was training in like a weighted vest. I mean, she went all out in her performance on this, and like everybody was just so honored to be working with Dick Van Dyke. And he's an inspiration to so many people.
Talking of flights to London, Emily Blunt was in London and was asked to do this, and she came over just to perform Supercalifragilistic because it was going to be in front of him. So she came over just to do that.
Rita Ora.
Ora.
Laura? Okay,
Rita
Emily
Ora.
Blunt played me.
I was like, I missed that one. Rita Ora, yeah.
She didn't get it.
She did great. That was real. She built that out. Yeah. It was beautiful. I mean, even all the costumes are fantastic. Like, really, I mean, so quickly put together, but really beautiful, beautiful tribute. I'm going to stop this here and get back to you guys. There you are. Bravo, guys. Bravo. Good job. Quick. God, it's so quick, isn't it? And then it's gone. It's so sad.
Yeah, and all all that furniture went somewhere. I went to the producer, I think, but
I stole the Dick Van Dyke Show letters. So
there you go.
We all got something.
I didn't get anything.
You didn't grab anything, John? You didn't grab a lamp or something?
Nothing.
yeah, I needed that triangle pillow.
No,
Yeah,
no,
really.
I didn't get anything. Shit.
I feel like, but is any of their furniture in like the Smithsonian or anything?
No, not that I found. I mean, it's like Archie Bunker's chair is like
That's it.
But no, this one wasn't around. And like I said, the last time when it was Claudette Didil, or I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Yeah, Didel. I think Didel. Yeah.
She recreated it, and and she made a bunch of furniture too. And the producer, I think, forget who it was, somebody involved with the show took all that, so none of it was around. So it's like I had to recreate all that. So I mean, and I talked to her about it. She was had all the good stories and stuff. But,
even after our version, the fireplace we gave to one of the prop houses, I believe, because we made the fireplace. But the furniture that John had made was Craig, the director. He said he wanted all the furniture. So the infamous ottoman and the chair and the John's yellow chair with the wooden pieces, they've all gone, and the couch all went to Craig. So I don't know if we do Dick's 99th. I'm not sure that any of the stuff's available again.
Well, he has the painting that he hates.
And he has a painting. Yeah. But we gave him the coffee table and the paint. They wanted the coffee table and the painting, and then we had the cushions made with the stripes from his Jolly Holiday outfit. We had those made. So that was kind of nice. At the end of the day, when they were leaving, you look and there's Dick and Arlene walking away. And she's got one of the cushions under her arm. she's allowed. But
that is a compliment.
Yeah, they gave the coffee table to some social media person that works for them who was a huge fan of the show, and you kind of thought that maybe they'd have given him the painting, but because they didn't like that, but they gave him the coffee table.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, good luck, guys. I think this is a big. I think you got a good chance. I don't know. You hate to say anything. You never know.
Never say
it would be this was such a, like Steve mentioned right at the very start, this was such a project that we were all really happy to be involved with, and it was the end of the year. It was just before Christmas, and it was like the last time we all got to see each other before we all went away for the holidays, and it was such a feel-good thing that ended with on such a high, because he was so nice and the show went well, and we were all so proud of it, and we all kind of walked away smiling because we were just so excited by what we'd just done, and it's just been the perfect project for us all to be on, and particularly for us three to work together, because that's always something that we try and do when we can. And so we just got the STSA award.
Yes,
this last
that's right.
week.
Congratulations. Very
Thank
nice.
you very much.
Yeah,
That was
really wanted to do it. And I was on another show. I was doing, going from this to America's Most Wanted, which is basically crack houses. So, and what I did was I was just like, okay, I really wanted to do this. So I was kind of working on this one while I was working on that. And then I got somebody to fill in over at America's Most Wanted for that final week.
Oh, that's
And, because I really wanted to do it because it was like, I'm like Dick Van Dyke. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. So it was great.
legend.
It was such a perfect one, and then for us to then get the nomination, the Emmy nomination, is incredible, and to get the win at the end of it would be perfect, and it'd be nice if we do, but if not, it has still been an incredible project for the three of us to be on.
Well, you're nominated for Variety Special for Dick Van Dyke, 98 Years of Magic. Beautiful, beautiful show, so quickly and beautifully put together. So congratulations and good luck. Good luck, guys. Emmy voting starts today. So, and as we know, some of us, people vote the first day. So here you go. First day and last day are the biggest voting days. So here you go, people. Get out there and vote. The link is right in your email box right now. So there you go. Yeah, it's the easiest time to vote is right now. So thank you so much, James, John, Steve. Thank you so much for your time and good luck. So thanks, guys.